Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Farai Majandu. I am the president for OneQuantum Africa. I happen to stay in Zimbabwe and to be a Zimbabwean. And because of that, we are also building a community of people who are interested and enthusiastic about quantum tech in Zimbabwe. So we've got amazing young people who are stepping up and coming through to catch on what's next for technology. And this is our place where we gather every now and then to discuss about how we can move quantum forward in Zimbabwe. The other thing that we do is we share stories about how we ended up in quantum. We always think that is very important to encourage other people to step up as well. So we are happy today to have Nandi Jani from the University of Zimbabwe. She's in second year. She does engineering. She's going to tell us a lot more about herself. But we're happy to have you, Nandi, and you can take this forward. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Farai. So I think we can just go to slide 2. Okay, so can you guys hear me?
Very well.
Okay, so hi everyone. As you can see on the screen and probably from the flyer that was circulating, I am Nandi Jani, and well, I'm here because I'm a quantum enthusiast, and though that's those are my social media handles. I just use my name. So can you move to the next slide? I think slide 4. Okay, so I am a mechanical engineering undergrad student at the University of Zimbabwe currently. I'm doing my second year, and I'm a very curious somebody. So I think you get to understand what I mean by that on the next slide. Okay, so those are just some of my interests. I did IoT, books, fictional, non-fictional, general books, autobiographies, biographies, any book that you can think of. I'm into those. And I also love teaching. I've tutored and I've been involved in a entrepreneurship training project for primary and high school kids called Junior Think Tank since the start of last year, where we teach entrepreneurial mindsets to students in primary and high school. I love physics and science in general, and of course, I also love quantum tech. So I think that's about it in terms of who I am and what I'm all about. Next slide, please. Okay, so I get the big, yeah, can just put it there. The big concept that I think I've learned in terms of quantum technology, quantum theory, whatever you want to call it, is that it's quite challenging. Like as you can see from that slide there, that's just quantum mechanics in a nutshell. Because I got that from, there was a resource that was sent by either it's Lorraine or you, Farai, who sent it. A link to this site called Quantum Theory for the Very Curious. So I went through that and it was really helpful. And that was some of the stuff that I was going through. And as you can see, it's not it seems very complicated. And when you're just beginning and starting this whole quantum thing, I just realized that you need a lot of maths, and find that the maths that I've been learning, the modules that I've been doing, the linear algebra, all of them, they just fall in there. So that's part of the challenging aspect. But then at the end of it, or you find that it's quite worthwhile. But I'll elaborate more on how it could be worthwhile to to invest your time and your energy into learning this. Next slide, please. Okay. So I'll just dive right into my journey, my quantum journey, that is. So before up until my first year, so in my third year in high school, um I just thought that I would become maybe like a medical doctor, because as I was growing up, when I started showing, always coming up first in class and everything, my mother just started calling me her doctor. And I just grew up, thinking that I would become a doctor myself. And in third year of high school, the first term, that's when I first started taking up physics. And I sucked, guys. I sucked in physics the first term, and that was quite hard for me, because all this while in the lower grades and everything, I was always passing. I was always coming out first in class and everything. And then now I am introduced to this new subject, and I find it quite challenging and it's hard. And I had the lowest marks in physics that term, and everywhere else I had passed with like very high marks, but physics I had a lower mark, and that was very challenging for me. But then, thankfully, I should say, my physics teacher, he was quite encouraging, and he was on my case constantly, telling me that all this while before in the lower grades you were getting maybe 100% in combined science, integrated science, then how can you start failing physics now? And he was always on my case, and he pushed me until I remember the second term I had a 94 in physics, 94% when I went back home, the last test that we wrote. And from then onwards, physics became my favorite subject. So, and that's when I began considering doing engineering and everything else. But before that, I had no interest whatsoever in physics, in engineering, in quantum, and what. And then when I was now in doing my A level, I had a classmate, and his dad stayed in the UK, and he had subscriptions to magazines like the New Scientist, the Scientific American. So he would send over some of those books over to his son, that's my classmate, and then my classmate would give those books to me to read maybe over the weekend for a week or two, and then I'll just read them through. And reading those books, already at this point physics was now my favorite subject. And I got these books, and okay, and I got these books, and they they opened up my eyes to this other world that I had no idea about, the quantum world. So I was now, I think it was more of my interest in quantum was born then because of the novelty of the quantum world, quantum concept like superposition, entanglement, and all of those. So I remember at one time during my A levels, I would be constantly watching documentaries on quantum information theory, or reading magazines or books on anything that I could find. But at this point, I was just doing it out of curiosity and the novelty of it, because it was just something new to me and I was curious about it. And then now, so after my A levels, because I was just doing it out of curiosity, and I didn't even realize that this was something that could become, I don't know, something tangible and feasible, with real world applications in the future or in the world. So I just thought that it was just me reading a theory. It was all just books and theories. So after my A levels, I just stopped. That's when I went to doing other things like learning. During my A level break, I took a gap year. I was teaching myself how to code. I think I did Java and Python. I took a course in an introductory course at this local college, a Cisco introductory course in IoT and all of those things. but I'd sort of forgotten, or rather, I had sort of pushed back the quantum aspects to the back of my mind because I just thought, this is just theory. There's nothing like that that's going to be happening anytime soon. So it was only recently, probably last year, towards the end, when I got the link to the Quantum in Zimbabwe group. And I just thought, let me just join because and see what it's about. So when I joined the group, that's when I realized that, this quantum technology, it's already there. Like some aspects of it are already there, and it's growing bigger and bigger. And my interest was born again. So I start now whenever Esther or Farai or Lorraine sends a link in the group for resources like meetings, events, books, blogs, I just soak it all up and try to get as much information as I can, um and get to learn more hands-on and get more hands-on and learn about the practical applications that are there in quantum. And I'm just exploring further and further, and it seems there is more scope and a wide array of options that are available. And yeah, that's been my journey, and it's still continuing, and that's about it. Next slide, please. Okay, so why quantum in Zimbabwe? Because last week when we had when we were having the meeting, and my cousin came over to me and he asked me what I was doing. And I said, you know what, it's a meeting, it's a Zoom meeting about quantum tech. And he looked at me and he said, you're crazy. And I said, why? And he said, because it will take maybe decades or forever before people start reaping the benefits from quantum technology. And while you might have a point, but then I realized that that's something that most people um, um, that's what most people also think this side in terms of quantum tech, if they've heard about it. Or yeah, so why should we have it? At least in my own personal view, I think because from what I've gathered, the applications of quantum technology are very, as I said before, there's a wide scope, like the multidisciplinary applications of it in agriculture, in tech, in security, in information, in communication, in health, in material science, in engineering, all of those. I think that's what makes it worthwhile that we as Zimbabweans should get involved in on it during this time when it's just starting. And also the fact that it's something that's also, how do I say this? When you think about it, everything is built on a foundation of quantum, almost everything anyway. So because when you think about it, even humans, the what the complex systems that make up our world, most of them, if not all, they are based on on a quantum foundation. Because if you think about humans and you think about maybe whatever material that you can think of, when you break it down, it goes down to atoms, then to subatomic particles like electrons, photons, and everything. And so I feel that learning quantum is also another way of, to enhance our knowledge of the world. And maybe in so doing, we are also able to solve and innovate, around some of the challenges that we face in the world and here in Zimbabwe, because we would understand our environment at a foundational level. And then also, I think one of the last reasons is when you look at other technologies, the way I see it, in terms of the internet, the other technologies that are there that are mostly based on the internet and everything, as Africans, as Zimbabweans, we are already so far behind, and we probably will never catch up with the rest of the world because from my understanding, most of the softwares and hardware and applications that we have, they're now built on systems that are built way before. So with quantum tech, we have an opportunity to maybe level out that ground because it has potential of becoming a generative technology or generative innovation itself, where we can then build more applications and more software or hardware or more systems based on it without. And so in that way, we have, if we start early, it means that we would also be part of, like, the early adopters, and maybe we'll create systems that we can use, that we have created from the start ourselves. And I think that's something that as Zimbabwe we need as well, because, for example, when you think about the internet, we have challenges because at the end of the day, we didn't really create it, or the systems on which the internet is founded, they do not belong to us. I don't know if I'm making much sense, but yeah, something along those lines. And so those are some of the reasons why I think we should adopt quantum and try and learn as much as possible as we go along the way. Next slide, please.
So I'm facing a bit of
yeah, but
sorry.
I think that's actually the last. Yeah, that's actually the last slide anyway.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think that's just the end of my presentation. So thank you guys, and I hope I was audible enough.
Yes, thank you, Nandi. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Beautiful story. You can stop sharing, Lorraine. That's okay.
Okay.
Sure. So yeah, we got back here. So well, I always want to be the last one to ask questions or to add on to a conversation. So yes, feel free to unmute yourself and come through if you want to ask Nandi something or add on, and you want to add on to the discussion and just get it to move forward. Yes, Lorraine, you definitely should have something to say.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Nandi, that was a very beautiful presentation. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it, well detailed, well researched, and I like that you like reading, something that I'm learning to do more, but I'm happy you are doing that, and it's good that you have, already foreseen the future, and, you're willing to take part in all of this. And so my question to you in general, like, just trying to get to know, and maybe if ever I could be of any assistance, but what do you hope to maybe aspire with quantum, or like what do you want to then do? Like, do you want to take it up as a career? Do you want to take it up as maybe in conjunction with mechanical engineering? Where do you see yourself in the future with quantum?
Thanks, Lorraine. With quantum, I'm still at the stage where I'm exploring it, right? But I can definitely say that I want to take it up in conjunction with my engineering. That much is certain. But I'm still figuring out where it would then come into play. But I'm sure that I know that I definitely want to, to incorporate it within my engineering field of study.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions for Nandi? So anyway, while we're waiting for other questions from the platform, so tell me, what can I say? When you are having conversations with your friends, what has been the most difficult thing to put across to get them to also begin to think quantum is important and to participate or contribute? What makes it so hard for them, or what are the difficult questions they throw at you, so that we also learn about how difficult it is to talk to people out there about quantum tech?
I think the the first major reason that I get is, it's hard. Like, that's just the first thing that people tell me. It's hard. You're doing this thing, so that means you're like, I don't know, you are it's for smart people, like way above average intelligent. So I think most of my friends and my family anyway, whom I tell about it, they are intimidated. I guess the meds is just too scary for them. So that's one of the things that they always ask, that how can I just do it when I'm not that smart, or I don't get the maths at all. So that's the first thing. And then the second is, um with some of them, the first thing the other thing that I get asked is, how much money can you make from it? And I think it's hard to answer that question for something like that's just emerging or that's still growing, such as quantum technology. And so, because some of them, they want to start realizing the profits way early on, and it's quite hard to answer a question such as that one, when for something that's still just emerging, as I've said before. I think those are the two main aspects.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? Welcome, Sydney. We're really happy to have you on. We'll get to you in a moment to hear from you as well. So, are they currently making money, so that we also understand why they would want quantum to make people money with it?
Some of them are, some of them aren't, but everyone just, even if you're not making money, you still want to know how that thing will benefit you. And for most people, benefit translates to monetary benefit.
Okay, I hear you. Um, any questions from Esther? You can't definitely not have a question.
Hello.
In the hope that you can hear us. Yes, thank you.
Okay. You can hear me, right?
Very well.
Okay. I just wanted to ask Nandi. She mentioned that she is a volunteer at an organization where they teach kids entrepreneurship skills. So I just wanted to ask for your advice, since you've been working with children, right? Like, which approach do you think we have to use to attract young children to quantum and get them engaged? Do you have any advice in that area for us as
uh
quantum?
okay, yes, I think I might, because I think firstly you have to break down the quantum theory, quantum tech aspects into layman's terms, like very, very simple. And then what I've noticed with most kids is they want it to be fun and they want a lot of play. So if you could like gamify the learning, like make it into games, so that they really get to understand the stuff and have fun while doing it. Because I've realized when we first started doing our sessions last year for this organization that I'm talking about, um, junior think tanks, that is. At first, we were using this. We were just, doing lecture style, and the kids, you could just tell that they are not into this. But then when you started introducing games and, and fun and play into it, they were more engaged and more participative than they were when we were just coming in and telling them stuff and then we were just closing it. And I think with kids, what I've also realized is maybe animation, short videos, something along those lines, that also works, rather than books and reading, because most kids rarely read.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much for that. Lorraine, you were a bit further down the line in this. In terms of people who say quantum is hard, how would you respond? And what have been the resources that have been helpful to help you to figure out a way around quantum to a level where you are today?
Okay, if when people say something is hard, generally I've realized that if you want to define anything as hard, in that case, everything is hard. People would say engineering is hard, but law is equally as hard, or any other program that you think is easy. It's also, even Shona is also hard. If you want to define things as hard, if you want to define quantum as hard, that would mean everything is hard for the individual that's doing it. But it's about, do you want to learn it? Because you define whether it's hard or easy. Obviously, things can be challenging. We cannot deny that fact. Things can be challenging, but it's about putting effort, because when I heard of quantum, I literally zero. I didn't even know that there was something called quantum physics. Other people who know that there's quantum physics were at a better stage than me. But at that time, I didn't even. So it's about your effort in reading. Like, we got resources. The very first resources that Farai sent were tutorials on Qiskit and installing it on your computer, and some, articles to read. Such things are what I read. And sometimes, reading, you don't really understand. So videos are good, because videos, someone explains it like verbally, and some of the people even be showing their screen. So you're able to see and hear, and it makes it easier to understand. So my advice to people who say it's hard, it's not hard. It can be challenging like anything else that you would ever take up. So it's just about your effort in trying to learn the thing. I put effort in learning quantum, and I ended up getting to learn it. Nandi also put effort in, I mean, she learned Java, for example, like from her presentation. It meant she didn't know anything about it, but she put effort, looked for the material. So it's about the effort you put. Nothing is hard. I would say nothing is hard. Things do get challenging. I will not deny that, but I would not choose the word hard. So my advice is, the material that you get, read it, look for videos, also read, I still like this article. I don't know it in very much detail that Farai sent before, but he sent a link to an article about a musician who ended up in quantum. Like, I mean, music, I did music, but it's not like do re mi fa sol la, and now is in quantum, like, so it's motivating. Like, okay, if someone who's doing music, there's not, distinct maths there, but they are able to do quantum, then it means, I can also equally put effort and get to learn quantum. So it could be challenging, but not hard. It's not impossible. It's not something that's out of this world. It's just, anything, like anything, it takes time. You take time to learn it, and then you get better with it.
Okay, sounds good. And I wanted to say, yes, that's why I think the other way of programming quantum computers is to use a composer. It's because of the inspiration from music. We are combining different frequencies and producing some good music. That's how you manipulate your quantum computers to do what you want to do. So you are orchestrating. So it's really interesting, an interesting aspect which combines aspects of music with quantum computing. But anyways, a story for another day. My follow-up question to you, Lorraine, sorry for putting you on the spotlight. So given, I think Nandi raised a very important point about the motivation having to be, something that leads to some value and some benefit. What has been driving you to overcome a background where you have never known of quantum physics and still wanted to go through all the challenges that quantum was throwing at you? What has been the driving force? Why were you doing it? What's your motivation? Where is the value in doing that? Why would somebody want to last through the challenges that may be part of a quantum journey?
Okay, I did it I find quantum interesting. Like, people find different things interesting. Other people find soccer interesting, but I find quantum interesting. And I feel the fact that I failed A-level maths, and okay, for O-level maths, it was not so bad. But the fact that I had failed A-level maths, but still managed to do quantum is, something that made me realize it's welcoming, right? It's something that's accommodative. So it's, it drove me to learn, to want to learn more about quantum and how interesting it is. So I also looked at how it could be used, how it could be made to make life easier and simplify things is very interesting. The areas of application that it can be used. So I know people really want monetary benefit, but to me, quantum has more than money, like more than monetary benefit, because it's something that actually, makes me happy. You know how people escape in books. For me, looking at those circuits, learning how they work and how they function is where I can get to escape. So I find it interesting. So for me, it's out of interest. It's something that I do not really know how to describe, how I just fell in love with it. And now I'm passionate about and would really want to learn more about. So even though if I'm told there is no monetary value or any monetary benefit from it, I'm okay with it. I'm happy just learning it and understanding and seeing how it can make things better. I mean, at this moment, definitely I haven't gotten any monetary value. It's me who's actually investing money because I need to buy Wi-Fi, I need to buy data to learn this thing. But it's so worth it for me because, it's like I'm seeing the bigger picture, so it's something like that. It's like when, okay, I'll use this example, like when two people are standing in a queue, let's assume Esther and I are standing in a line, maybe in a line for SADSA, right? I might be willing to remain in the queue because my eyes are on the SADSA, but Esther might not be willing to remain in the line because she's distracted by the fact that there's still a long queue. So, there are those two different groups, the people that cannot see the SADSA or I cannot see the big picture in this case, which is the SADSA, because they are being obstructed by the little things that are in front of them, the other people. So I would say some people are not willing to look at the bigger picture of, the change that quantum could bring. Like other people are like people who are interested in the environment and making sure there is clean air, the environment is clean, the animals have some, quantum can be applied to improve such areas. So it's something that you should take, I think, for you to really be inspired or maybe want to learn more about quantum, take what it is you love and then find how it works together with quantum. Like Farai mentioned about the music person, that it would it then links with music. If you love music, then find your music in quantum. If you love mechanics, find your mechanics in quantum, your robotics, something like that. So I hope that answers the question.
Sure, it does. Sure, it does. I was going to say, perhaps I want to find answers on the same question from all of you. So I will have to go back to Nandi and say, I know you may have said during your presentation, but I think it's worth a point to come through with one more time. What do you think is, or actually not what you think, because you already know that. So what do you think is going to be? Yeah, we have to use what do you think, because perhaps we are looking towards the future. Why do you think this time around you will stay in quantum? Not like what happened with IoT and other things that you may have fascinated with at some point.
Okay. So Firstly, with the other things I was fascinated with, I'm still fascinated, but with quantum, why I think I will stay is because, as I've mentioned earlier in my presentation, there is a lot of scope and room for improvement and progress and innovation within the quantum field, right? As I mentioned before, it touches on issues of biomedical engineering, the medical field, the agricultural field, the security field, because they're already talking about quantum computers being able to break the encryption of our current existing security systems in IT. So already that means that there's a lot of room in terms of what quantum can do for us. And there's also, as I mentioned before, I said that it's something that can enhance our knowledge in terms of how we understand our complex world, because everything, or almost everything, when you break it down, it goes down to, to the quantum aspects of it, in terms of like atoms and subatomic particles being the building blocks of almost everything in our universe. And then there was also the issue that I mentioned of the probability of it being a generative technology, like the same way that, for example, you have a computer, and on a computer you can develop different hardware components and software components based on the existing computer, without the need for it to change or really change its basics. And quantum has also that, is, I, at least from my point of view, I think that it could be one of those generative technologies, or generative systems, or whatever you want to call it, whereby once it's developed, or it continues developing, we'll be able to build upon it more and more technologies, systems, and innovations, which would help us to solve or address whatever challenges that we face in whatever a field that you might be interested in. So I think that's about it.
Sounds good, beautiful, Nandi. I think you captured it very well. Esther, you could answer the same question. My question is simply, why are you staying hooked to quantum? What's the bigger goal? What's the benefit? What's the value? Where do you see, yourself in this field a few years down the line, in your line of, in your area of interest, or in your industry of interest? I'm not sure if Esther, you can hear me, but well, I'll have to move to Sydney. I hope you have been catching up on what the discussion is about. Nandi made a presentation on her quantum journey, and we got to understand her background and how she got to be where she is today. So we are simply having a discussion here to share ideas about how to move quantum forward in Zimbabwe. And definitely, as a foundation to that, it's about our interest. It's about our interest in quantum tech and why we should be interested in it. And as we talk to our friends and communities, we just want to be sure we tell them the right things, and we get them, we get them to know why it could be important for them to look at quantum if ever they are interested. So yeah, if you have had prior exposure to quantum, I would love to know why you think quantum tech is important to pay attention to, especially in Zimbabwe at the moment. Okay, so I'll assume that the people who are following and caught up elsewhere. Esther, the question was, why are you staying in quantum? Ever since you joined quantum, you have never left. Why are you staying? What's your motivating factor? Quantum is difficult, it is hard, it is challenging. Why is it worth it? Unotsvire ine tea, ine sugar here tea.
Thank you so much. I can now hear. I heard a bit. So the main reason why I'm still in quantum, it's because I've realized some of its advantages in the area of engineering that I'm in. And for instance, looking at solar energy, the way we can harness the energy, the science behind it, I really wasn't aware until, we started doing quantum, that, we have quantum dots that are used, when harnessing solar, and we can maybe manipulate those particles at their level to, to increase the efficiency in which we harvest solar energy. So I've been realizing a lot of areas where I can implement, even in medical robotics, the instrumentation aspect of it. So I realized that there are vast areas where I can actually implement quantum in engineering. So I'm still trying to explore and see where I can where I can actually specialize. But then as of now, whilst I'm getting the hang of it, I'm interested in quantum cryptography. And that's what I'll be doing in terms of just programming and getting to understand it. Otherwise, there are vast opportunities in engineering. That's why I'm investing heavily in it. So yeah, thank you.
Sounds good, Esther. Thank you very much for that. And Nicole was excited to hear you mention quantum dots. Yes, we come to you, Nicole. How are you? And congratulations on your pitch and the success from that end. All the best with what you're working on. And yes, let's hear your story about the other week. You couldn't join us briefly and tell us about quantum dots and why you think it's important to pay attention to quantum in Zimbabwe and in Africa.
Can you hear me well?
Very well. We can hear you very well.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everyone. To those I haven't met, I'm Nicole. I'm studying my master's in chemistry. I went to Monte Cassino, so that's how I found my way here. So last week I was pitching a social venture. So I'm going to be in Zimbabwe in June. So if anyone is in Harare, let's connect. So I'm coming to kickstart the Keto social venture. So the aim is to address food insecurity and to add a head of cattle to the Serima village so that homesteads can learn the cattle so that they can do like subsistence farming. So the whole idea is to, okay, let me switch off my alarm.
No worries.
Okay, I'm back. So the whole idea is, you know how it's so expensive to get cattle, like each head costs like 200, like 600 actually, to get like a very good breed. So I came runner-up, so I got 2,500. My budget had close to like 9,000 for 1.5 years sustainability. So I'm going to be using that runner-up price to apply for more grants, but it's enough to it's enough to get started at least for June and July. So I'm really excited to be on the ground and go searching for cattle and all this. So so to quantum, I was just fascinated when I took the class. To be honest, it was one of my most challenging class. Like I struggled so much in that class, but it was cool, like it was really cool. Like I got to learn about the quantum dots. I got to learn about, what else did we do? Like the background of quantum chemistry. It's so cool. I did a project on that. I actually have a paper on like some of those things. So on quantum entanglement, I did a paper on quantum entanglement. It's like one of those crazy things. So where do I see quantum? Like what has been mentioned earlier, it is indeed a challenging subject, but I think it's very rewarding. And I think the moment we stop looking at it from like the scary Schrodinger equation to just the basics like quantum dots, So if anybody is interested, like just Google it. It's so fascinating. I think there's room, because I think the coolest thing about quantum is, the coolest thing about quantum is it goes into physics, it goes into math, it goes into chemistry. So it also goes into computer science. So I look at quantum from a chemistry lens. So whenever I think about quantum, it's from the chemistry approach when I'm thinking about like molecules, how molecules are arranged. When you start dealing with bigger molecules, there's actually quantum chemistry happening in there. I did take quantum mechanics, didn't like it that much, but it's like one of those things. So I'm really excited to be in the club. Like I'll do my very best to attend. This is actually a very good time. It's just that I have 2 weeks to graduation. So I'll be jumping in either very, very early or a bit towards the end, but I will try my best to be here. So yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Nicole, for remembering us back home and for the projects that you are working on and for impact work. It's great stuff. And that's all, I guess. I was talking to one of these experts in the field and I was asking them what archetypes they see when they look at people who are likely to jump on in quantum. And he said to me, people who are likely to be, to jump early on in quantum are people who want to test their intellectual capacity and are just excited to move on to what comes next in terms of technology and knowledge and understanding the universe, like Nandi said. And the second group of people is people who are looking at working things that are impactful. So quantum computing and quantum technology have that promise to bring us capabilities that will allow us to deal with some of the challenging problems that we just wouldn't be able to handle with the classical systems as they are. So yeah, so thank you very much for that. So yeah, I guess if there are no other questions from the floor, we are getting towards the end of this meeting, and I will take this back to to Nandi and to Lorraine and Esther and to all of you to really say your parting shots, and we conclude the meeting, I guess. Otherwise, perhaps the first thing I should say is thank you, Nandi, for your presentation. Really appreciate it. And yes, let's keep on reaching out to more people and young people and get our quantum community to expand and expose people who are interested and active in tech to know about this.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Farai. Thank you, everyone else.
Sounds good. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, for this meeting and for coming through. Really appreciate it. Until we meet again next time, be the best at what you do.